another episode of our Hatten Health podcast.
Episode 7.
Yes. Today, we're going to talk about protein, break down some of the myths, and talk about a lot of the facts also.
Yeah, protein is a huge craze right now for a lot of different reasons. So we just want to break it down, give you some insights on why it's happening, why everything's high protein, and whether it's a good or a bad thing. We'll do some myth busting as well. There's a lot we want to talk about. Hopefully we can get this in within 45 minutes.
Yep. But first, as always, we're going to start off by letting you know that if you're a first-time listener or return listener, letting you know that we are all about family,
health,
growth,
and empowerment.
So let's make it happen
together.
Good as always.
Awesome.
Right into it.
Okay, first off, though, Kari, I want to ask you something. As a chef, how does it feel that the word protein is now on a bag of chips?
It genuinely offends me, honestly. Like, we're taking a word that belongs to a whole, well-rounded food, and we just decided to slap that on anything just because it's marketable, and we think people won't buy it, and that's kind of deceiving, to be honest.
Yeah. I cringe for different reasons because we have clients that come in thinking that they're making a good choice, right? It says protein on the bag, so it must be a good choice, right? But in reality, it's really not.
Well, the food industry found out that people care about protein, and immediately they said, put it on chips, put it on anything.
Yeah, it's a big marketing campaign, which is exactly why we need to do this episode. There's a ton of research behind protein. It's an important science, but it's fascinating research, and it's getting completely buried under our noses, right? Under all the noise, all the things, high protein that influencers have started, bodybuilder, all of that.
Yeah.
So today we're going to clear that all up. What protein actually is, why your body needs it, how much you really need, where to get it, and whether the obsession has gone too far.
Yeah, and I'll be the one that has to actually turn all this food science into food that people will actually eat and families will enjoy. And because, like, knowing protein is important, but knowing what to cook for dinner, that's two very different things.
You're so right. It's so true. One thing to say, let's eat this, but if it doesn't taste good.
Right.
Let's dive into why everybody is actually talking about protein now.
It's like the cultural moment and what's driving it.
So let's start with this cultural phenomenon, like you said. Protein is what's called a macronutrient. We have 3 of them, right? We have protein, carbs, and fats. Yep. And they'll make up the bulk of what we eat every day, what we survive on. And so why it has become such a trend now, and to be honest, some of it is legitimate and some of it is just not.
Yeah. And where I sit in the culinary world, I watched the conversation about nutrition evolve over the years. It went from low fat to low carb. Now it's high protein. That seems to be the hot topic of the day.
Fat, yeah.
Yep. And what I'm noticing in the food industry, it always catches up to whatever the public conversation is, and they decide to monetize off of that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And here's what's different about protein, though. The protein trend compared to, say, the fat-free diet in the 90s, there is underlying science that makes it actually solid. And we do have good research showing that adequate protein intake supports like muscle preservation, metabolic health, satiety, healthy aging. It's not just a fad in the way that the fat-free fad was.
Yeah.
The fad with protein is that it is an overcorrection.
Wow. So what do you mean? What exactly do you mean about overcorrection?
Yeah. So the science says that protein is important for most people, and people could benefit from being more intentional with how much they're consuming. But how the internet interpreted that was that we need to eat as much protein as possible at all times, and it's superior to all other foods. And that's where we've gone wrong. Social media has amplified the fitness and bodybuilding community in their approach to protein, which is legitimate for specific reasons. Like for those specific populations, yes, they need to do that. But we haven't taken it into account or applied it to everybody across the board. Not everybody is a bodybuilder or a fitness guru. So regardless of age, activity level, health status, lifestyle, that also plays a big role in how much protein you should eat every day.
And then that's where the food companies jumped in.
Yeah. Exactly. Food companies jumped in. We now have protein chips. We have protein cookies, protein donuts, protein coffee. I mean, if we walk down the aisle in the grocery store, everything that's in a package says protein. So
it's like a protein donut is still a donut at the end of the day. There's no way around it.
Yeah. And so people see that and they think they're making a health conscious choice. But like you said, donut's still a donut.
Yeah.
So today we are giving people the real foundation so they can cut the noise. That starts with what protein actually is. So the science is that honestly, the basics of protein are pretty simple. It's really not that complicated. But we as a society tend to overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
So here's the foundation of what happens when you consume protein or why you should know about it. So your body is made up of trillions of different cells, going back to middle school biology class, right? All the cells. And every single structural, functional things that those cells do is built on protein. Your muscles, your organs, your skin, your hair, your nails even, all protein-based structures. But protein also runs your body's operations, like enzymes that drive chemical reactions within the body, antibodies that fight infection, hormones like insulin that regulate blood sugar, hemoglobin that carries oxygen through your bloodstream. Protein is not just a muscle-building nutrient. It's the fundamental building block and the workhorse, the power of human biology.
And that's fascinating to know. That's really good information for all of you to know. And also want to know, where does the food come in, though?
So protein in your body is made up of smaller units called amino acids. So amino acids build and make proteins. And there are 20 amino acids. Think of it like, what's a good example? Like the alphabet, right? So you have your amino acids. There are different letters of the alphabet.
Yeah.
And you're putting words together, and those are proteins. So all the different combinations of different letters, all those different words are building new proteins in your body. And here's the critical part. There are 9 of those 20 amino acids that are called essential amino acids. So what that means is that body does not produce them on its own. You have to consume food with those 9 essential amino acids in it to actually be able to do some good.
The divine 9 of human biology, right?
Exactly. So if you're not eating enough of those 9 essential amino acids, your body literally cannot build what it needs.
So is that where the idea of complete and incomplete protein comes in?
Exactly. Ooh. Complete proteins contain all 9 essential amino acids in them. Most animal foods, for example, meats, fish, eggs, dairy, those are all considered complete amino acids because they have all 9 of those. Yeah. Most plant foods, on the other hand, are incomplete. There are some that are found in nature, but majority of them are missing 1 or 2 of those essential amino acids.
I see.
I should note here that it doesn't mean that plants are inferior as protein goes, but it just means that if you're eating a plant-based diet, you need to eat a lot of variety to be able to have all of those present in your diet, essential amino acids in your diet. That's really a non-negotiable for sure. Yeah. We'll talk about that later on. But as a chef, Kari, do you think about protein when you're developing recipes or feeding people?
Absolutely, especially when developing recipes and which becomes developing a plan for a menu. That's definitely what I think about. Think about the protein as the anchor of the dish. Okay, so I build around it. I start with the protein. What kind of meat am I going to use? What kind of, if it's a vegetarian dish or a vegan dish, what kind of protein is that going to be the main focal point of the dish? I build around it. Then I go to starches. What kind of starch pairs with that? Veggies, what kind of veg pairs with that? And I build around that, and I structure the portion sizes too around the size of the protein, because that makes it a balanced meal no matter what the meal is, as long as it's healthy. Because it can be a beautiful piece of fish, chicken, a piece of pork, beef, or if you want to go to vegan, or vegetarian side, you get like the tofu, get some legumes in there, some lentils, anything like that. Whatever that main course is, decide what your sides are going to be around that. So yes, it's definitely the star point of the show, which is that plate. There's the stage, if you want to put in those terms. And yeah, let's just leave with that and go from there.
Very nice. Good point. Good point. Also, protein is kind of the star of the dish too, because it really helps with satiety and helping blood sugar regulation with a meal too. So yeah, building a meal around a quality protein source and add everything else from there is really a sound approach.
Absolutely. See, like what I learned through cooking and through feeding people is that it doesn't really matter what protein you choose, as long as it's a whole protein and a solid and more on the cleaner side. You can even select your sauces from there. I tell a lot of cooks that I work, younger cooks that I work with that are learning, that are coming up, these vital tips in building a dish. If we don't have certain ingredients available, what can we use to substitute? And it's amazing that you said that, because all the education that you learn from like in school, in text and the science and everything that I learned from on the job and experience cooking, feeding people of different sizes and groups and ethnicities and cultures, we both arrived to the same place from different paths. That's just awesome. Yeah.
That's why Hatten Health exists, right?
Yeah,
They
I love it.
to marry those two worlds together.
Yep. And bring you the real information amongst all the clutter out there.
All right. So now let's get into some information about protein and muscle building. So with muscle, this is where the relationship with protein really starts, right? That's where most people know about it. Protein, of course, helps build muscle. I think most people know that, but that's really not the whole story. And so I want to give the people a clear picture of what is really happening.
Yeah, because the gym conversation around protein can be a lot.
For sure. So here's the physiology of it. When we do resistance training, lifting weights, even body weight exercises, show off those guns. Anything basically that places an external load on the body, a mechanical load on your muscles, you create microscopic damage to those muscle fibers. So those little tiny tears that you're creating when you're lifting heavy weights or doing any body weight exercise. It doesn't, I said heavy. It doesn't have to necessarily be heavy. Yeah. So that's actually causing some damage to those muscle fibers. And so your body is flooding those tissues with all kinds of different, what are called like satellite cells and different things to help build and repair those tissues. And that is where you get what's called hypertrophy. You're growing those muscles or you're building those muscles back up. And so they become slightly thicker and a little bit stronger. And that is called muscle protein synthesis, or MPS, if you will.
So quick question, the soreness that you feel after a good workout, is that you're feeling the tiny micro tears in the muscles? Is that what that's from?
Yeah, and all the chemical reactions that come with that. So like I said, you're getting your body's flooding with different things. It was a lot of, everybody for a long time said it's because of lactic acid that's getting released. It's not necessarily because of the lactic acid, but yes, the tears and all the chemical reactions happening to it after that.
Okay, so the protein is the raw material for that rebuilding, right? Oh, I see. See, even when I think I know a lot, I'm still getting educated on the spot with more information. I love this.
So yes, exactly. So those amino acids within protein then become the building blocks to rebuild those muscles.
Nice.
And so they're repairing those muscle fibers, making them stronger. And if you don't have enough amino acids available within your body from food, either because you didn't eat enough protein during the day before your workout or after your workout, or you're in a severe calorie deficit, which a lot of people think they need to be for weight loss or what have you, the repair process actually becomes compromised. You did all this work, right? And your body just isn't able to capitalize on it. You're like I said, if you're in a deficit or you didn't eat enough, then your body is also going to take from different areas to help repair those muscles. And also, when you exercise and you work out, not only do you need to rebuild with protein, but your glycogen stores, so your immediate energy, is also depleted. So that's also a reason why you need to consume food pre and post workout, is to help build up those glycogen stores as well.
Oh, so you can't just eat straight protein and grow muscle without training.
Exactly.
Okay. You gotta put in the work.
You gotta put work. Yeah, that is one of the most important things I want people to hear, is that eating protein alone is not going to help you build muscle. And I think a lot of people think that way. Like the whole high protein craze. If I just eat high protein, then I'm going to have muscle and be lean. Without training, without that signaling of the muscle fiber tears or that muscle protein synthesis, the extra protein is just going to basically get used up for energy and excreted. So you cannot out eat your way to muscle. It just doesn't work that way. You need some type of stimulus and the nutrition in combination to work together.
So what about like regular people, the everyday Joe Schmo who does not want to get bulk and big? They just want to remain healthy or get healthy.
Yeah, they are not going to be most of the time like a competitive athlete, right? They're an average person doing average workouts.
Yeah.
And for adults, it's really, really hard to actually maintain and build muscle as we age.
Yeah.
After age 30, we're constantly losing muscle mass if we're not making efforts to maintain it. And so, especially for women trying to feel stronger, maintain their weight, have energy, age well, all of that, eating protein and resistance training are probably the two most powerful tools you can have. And so, like I said before, after age 30, we're losing about 3 to 8% of our muscle every year. And so when we lose muscle, that's called sarcopenia. So that's just the degradation of muscle over time as we age. And when you hit your 60s and 70s, if you haven't intentionally maintained muscle through your life, you can have significant loss in functional strength, metabolism, balance, mobility, independence. So eating adequate protein and combining that with moderate resistance training a couple of times a week. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be like powerlifting or anything like that. Heavy resistance training, just some resistance bands, body weight exercises, light weights is one of the most evidence-based interventions that we have for healthy aging.
Wow. That's deep. I mean, that completely reframes protein for me. I always thought it was just like a young athlete's thing.
Exactly. Most people do. And so that framing is what really does some harm, right? And so as older adults, they often think it's not for them, when really they are the population that may need the most.
I see that. So my next question is, how much protein do people actually need?
Okay, yes. Let's talk about the numbers. So the recommended daily allowance, RDA, for protein is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight.
Okay.
And that is a mouthful.
Yeah. On Instagram, go ahead and follow.
That's a mouthful. And so for the average sedentary adult, so someone who is not regularly active, that's roughly around 46 grams per kilogram for women and 56 for men.
Okay.
10% on average. But it's really critical to think of that RDA, that daily allowance, recommended daily allowance as a minimum threshold. It's not a ceiling, it's the floor of how much you should be consuming every day to prevent deficiencies, to be generally healthy, but it's not necessarily a target for optimum health. Again, that is for the general sedentary person.
Yeah.
It definitely differs if you're more active.
So when people hit those numbers, they tend to stop or think they're done. But in all actuality, they're under eating the amount of protein that they need for their life and their goals.
For many active people, yes. And so the research shows that optimal protein for active adults, people who regularly exercise, even moderately, doesn't have to be anything crazy, they should be consuming about 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight every day. So it's a little bit higher.
Okay.
And it's not super drastic, right? 0.8
Yeah.
versus 1.2, it's a little bit higher. And so, for example, someone who weighs 150 pounds, that's around 68 kilograms. So they should be consuming about 82 to 109 grams per day of protein. Athletes, though, on the other hand, who do like a lot of heavy resistance training or endurance training, can bump that up to even 1.8 or 2 grams per kilogram of body weight. And they really need to do this, especially during intense training blocks.
Oh, so what about kids? Because parents need to know this.
Yeah, great question. So children, they have a higher protein need relative to their body weight. So for adults, it was 0.8 for average sedentary adults. But for kids, it differs depending on their age. But for a toddler, it's about 1.1 gram per kilogram of body weight.
Okay.
For school-age kids, it drops down a little bit, about 1 kilogram. It's 0.95, but we'll round up to 1 kilogram. Teenagers, if they're going through a major growth spurt or if they're in athletics, they're very active, they need 1.2 grams per kilogram or more. And so also during adolescence, this is like prime time. You really need to focus on protein intake to really improve bone density, muscle development. Otherwise, there's some long-term implications into adulthood. And so it's really not something that you should take casually.
I agree. And so we spoke about kids. What about older adults? 'Cause I know you have a lot of experience in your dealing with elderly clients.
Yeah, this is one of actually the most evidence-backed areas of protein research, and also one of the most underserved populations, as I mentioned before, as far as nutrition goes and nutrition guidance. So for older adults, 65 and up, they actually need more protein than younger adults. And we usually think it's the opposite.
Yeah.
Because the aging body becomes less efficient at using dietary protein for muscle protein synthesis, as I mentioned before.
Okay.
And so, say, for example, a 70-year-old, they need to eat more protein than a 30-year-old to get the same anabolic response.
Okay.
And so current evidence supports that 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram for older adults. And so some research even says that there should be higher amounts.
Oh, here's something that I know you have firsthand experience with. Let's talk about pregnancy. What about that?
Yeah. So during pregnancy and lactation, so breastfeeding, definitely need to consume more protein as well. Roughly around 25 extra grams per day for pregnancy, and especially in the second and third trimester. So when the baby's growing rapidly, when you are feeding your baby during lactation, so depending on the mom's activity level and body weight, adding on an extra 25 grams per day to what they're already eating. And because you're growing and feeding a whole nother human being.
Yeah, that's true. So like the bottom line is most people need more than just a minimum. The specific amount depends on who you are, what you're doing, stages in life, and different things demand different attention, right?
Perfectly summarized. I totally agree with that for sure. Importantly, too, most Americans are actually getting enough protein as far as grams. So saying those numbers, can sound intimidating and like I'm not eating enough. But actually, with our portion sizes and everything, most people are actually meeting their protein goals. But where the concern is actually the sources of where they're getting their protein in specific populations who actually do need higher than average. But that's what we want to focus on.
Wow. Well, let's talk about protein. It's important to know where we get it. So let's talk about the protein sources, like animal versus plant. 'Cause that's also a sub hot topic right now. And we're going to go into like where science meets the kitchen.
Yeah. Animal. Let's start with animal. So we are going to approach this though without like sounding like we have an agenda, right?
Yeah.
We're Switzerland. We're neutral as far as animal or plant based goes, and that's because we see so many clients, so many different people that everybody's diet is different, right? Their eating patterns are different. We've changed eating patterns over our lives.
For sure.
And experimented with different things. So we want people to adhere to any framework or any eating pattern that suits their life. So from a nutrition side of things, animal proteins such as meat, fish, poultry, eggs, dairy are complete proteins, as I mentioned before. They contain all 9 essential amino acids in proportions that are highly bioavailable. So what that means is that they're easily, readily available when you eat that food, digest it, they are going into your system and doing the work that they need to do. So our body absorbs that and utilizes them very efficiently. And so the bioavailability of animal proteins is higher than those of plant protein, and essentially meaning that you're using more usable amino acids every time you eat. Plants, you got to work a little harder.
Yeah. And I've cooked across all of those frameworks. So I can speak from both sides of the standpoint of food on that topic. For example, the egg. The egg is the gold standard, right? Yeah, I know I've heard you say that before. I've heard a lot of people say that before.
Yeah. So scientists actually use an egg, right? Chicken egg, standard egg, as a reference point as far as proteins go when they're measuring quality of proteins across all other foods, because the amino acid profile within an egg and the digestibility of it is so close to perfect. And that's hard to say in science. No one ever says perfect, right? The incredible edible egg is pretty much considered like the gold standard as far as protein and amino acids go. And so eggs are one of the most nutritionally complete, affordable, and versatile foods on the planet. And we can talk more about eggs later on when we talk about more family protein sources and what they should be buying. But now let's dive into plant proteins a little bit more.
Okay. That's like the old, you have to combine beans and rice with every meal rule, right?
Yes, you're right. But the research is showing that you don't actually need to do that anymore. Yes, most plants are, as I mentioned before, incomplete proteins, meaning they're low or missing 1 or 2 amino acids in them in their profile. Legumes, though, tend to be low, for example, in methionine, which is an amino acid, or grains tend to be low in what's called lysine, another different type. It's important to know that does not make plant proteins inadequate for those who eat a varied diet. When you eat a variety of plant proteins across the day, they cover each other as far as amino acid gaps. So you don't have to have them all in one meal. But if you're eating them throughout the day, it's called an amino acid pool. If you've heard that term before. So your body has an amino acid pool. So if you're constantly jumping in and feeding that pool with variety of different plant sources, then you don't really need to have one single meal of beans and rice to cover all of that. So really that saying is kind of outdated. It's kind of overcomplicated.
Yeah.
But your body is actually a lot smarter than that.
I see. So from a cooking standpoint, what exactly are the best best plant protein sources, because I want people to know exactly what they're working with in the kitchen.
Yeah. So first one that stands out to me is soy. So things like edamame, tofu, tempeh
Yeah.
are all excellent sources. And tempeh even is especially important because of the fermentation process. It
Mhm.
allows it to be more digestible. You, you have experience with cooking it.
Yeah.
But also, I would say quinoa is another true complete plant protein, which is, like I said before, it's really rare to find in the plant world. Then you have, let's see, lentils, chickpeas, black beans, kidney beans.
Yep.
They're all fantastic. And I also really love hemp seeds. Pumpkin seeds are great to add to a lot of different dishes, yogurt, salad, smoothies. So these aren't all complete on their own, but when you're eating a variety of them and combining them with all together throughout the day,
Yeah.
as a varied diet, then it's a beautiful pairing.
Yeah. And as a chef, I would add that plant proteins are some of the most interesting ones to work with, especially because the way they adapt to whatever you're pairing with it. For example, tempeh, or not just the lentils, but what am I looking for? Tofu. If you sear them or fry them, they get a nice crust on the outside. Especially for people like me who don't like the texture of it, I like to get that little crust on there. It makes it more pleasurable on my palate. And for those like me, that's like very texture driven with certain foods, like lentils and legumes. You got your quinoa. Those things soak up whatever you put on it. Like if it's a broth or it's a sauce or a gravy, it soaks up and adapts that flavor. So if that protein by itself is hard for you to enjoy, you can add a healthy stock to it, homemade stock, healthy veggie stock, bone stock to it, or a light sauce, or even a dressing that helps to make it more fun to eat, more palatable, like chickpeas roasted with paprika or some type of dried herb or grounded herb into a powder. You got different types of beans, soybeans, things like that you may not like to eat raw or eat by yourself. If you have to insist on cooking it, yes, cook it light, but don't kill all the nutrients. You can add something to it that's natural and still real. And we see hemp seeds, pumpkin seeds. What else? You can make these things into like a salad toppers or a snack. You can dry, dehydrate it, but not too hard though, because like I said before, you don't want to kill all the nutrients. Just give it a little crunch or heat it up a little bit. And these proteins are a hit. And a lot of these are unexplored by home cooks because they think they're unattainable or they're too expensive, where you can only get them in a restaurant. There's ways that you can find them affordable in your local stores. And it's just easy to have them on hand in your home to cook a lot of dishes with. And like I said before, they're underexplored by most cooks.
Yeah, no, that's a good point for sure. And also eating a variety of plant proteins, even if you're not vegetarian or vegan, if you do eat animal proteins too, adding in plant proteins actually helps with gaining more fiber in your diet, phytonutrients, minerals as well, that not all animal proteins are able to provide in the same way.
So what's the one thing that people miss when they go fully plant-based?
Kind of the number one thing is vitamin B12, because that's found in most animal products. It's you can't really find anywhere else in the plant world. It's exclusively from an animal product.
Yeah.
So if you are completely plant-based, you need to usually have some type of B12 supplement. And that B12 helps with neurological functions, helps with red blood cell production, energy. Vitamin B12 shots are all the rage, supplements, things like that. So if you're strictly plant-based, you more than likely need to talk to your provider about having some type of B12 supplement. Also, iron and zinc tend to be really low because you find those most of the time in animal products as well. Iron and zinc are found in some plant products, but they're less bioavailable. So as I mentioned before, that it takes more effort to get those to do the job that they need to do within your body.
That's interesting. I just got a lot of info right there. I'm taking it all in, and you should too, because this is awesome.
And lastly, calcium. Yes, there's lots of plants with calcium in there. Dairy is known to be high in calcium. And so the amount of spinach, broccoli, things like that you need to consume to equal the same amount of calcium found in dairy products, it is really high.
I see.
So these are all manageable now if you have knowledge and intention with what you're eating. It just requires a little bit of awareness and not just wishful thinking. You gotta be strategic about it.
Excellent. Excellent. Very well said. So now I'd like to talk about whole foods versus protein products, like bars,
Right.
shakes, powders,
Everything,
lollipops,
the
whatever you're
proteins in a
saying.
package, like
Yeah.
a plastic package. Yeah. So the supplement side of protein, it's uh, what do I say? It has its place for sure in certain ways, but finding where it fits in and knowing that it doesn't replace whole.
And as a chef, I got some strong opinions about this.
I know you do. If you want to go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, where do I start? I mean, real food always first. Real solid whole foods always first. It's all about eating, consuming food the way it was meant to be eaten, dating back thousands of years. Our ancestors, they didn't have powders, they didn't have a lot of tricks, they didn't have the shots, they didn't have the candies and bars and things that were highly processed and all types of tricks and gadgets of things that are made to be edible. They just ate it straight from the source, raw.
Yeah.
And we, over the years, just humans, we evolved from that to what we feel like we need now, that we really don't. But we got to find that happy balance because modern life is, of course, knows different from back then. Bottom line for me is when you eat a piece of salmon or bowl of lentils, you're not just eating the protein, you're eating a whole matrix of nutrients together. Okay. You got your omega-3s, your B vitamins, got the selenium in the salmon, fiber, folate, iron, potassium in the lentils. That's really important. A lot of people skip that. I got put onto that recently, and now I'm eating lentils before I didn't even know what a lentil was many years ago. When you do your research on things and get educated, you start to eat more things than you did before. You start feeling better, looking better, and understanding why these things are put into our diets. It's basically when you're getting those overly processed powders and bars and things of that nature, it's a lot of it's stripped down of all its key nutrients and it's reduced down to something that's can be mass produced at a low cost and is minimally beneficial to your body. It's not doing as much as you may think it does. It might help a little bit, but not as much as it's always packaged to be.
Yeah. From a nutrition science standpoint too, I can completely agree with you for sure. And the research shows that whole food protein sources, like you said, salmon and things like that, actually show better outcomes than supplemental protein. And as far as satiety goes, body composition, overall diet quality, show better outcomes. Food is synergetic, right? Nutrients interact with each other in ways that we don't quite always understand. But for example, say you're traveling, right? If you're going through an airport and if you're having a choice of a protein bar or completely skipping out on protein altogether for a meal, I would say go ahead and eat the protein bar, right? Just don't make it a regular habit. Don't eat it constantly. Don't have it replace a meal all the time.
Yep.
And then eat those whole foods when you can. And if a shake helps, for example, if it's hard, say for a student athlete to get all the calories and protein that they need throughout a day, eating it with whole foods, go ahead and add an extra shake in to help supplement that. And so supplements are there to fill gaps, but they're not to replace meals.
That's a good point. I was going to say that, but you said it a lot better than I would. So thank you for that. Thank you for breaking that down. So what would you look for in a protein powder? If anybody's willing to use one, what would you look for?
Number one thing I would say is a short ingredient list. Always look at your nutrition labels. And any type of packaged food, if you can, take the time, look at your nutrition label. I always go to the ingredients first, look there. And so the shorter the list, the better.
Yep.
And make sure that the actual protein sources are listed first in that ingredient list. So if you don't know ingredient list, the first ingredient is the most out of that product, and then it goes down in order based on how much is in it. So you want those protein sources to be first, not some filler, not sugar. Majority of protein powders, bars are severely high in sugar. Protein bars, a lot of them are like glorified candy bars. They can have upwards to 25 grams of sugar in a bar. So making sure that your protein is higher than your sugar content in your bars. For plant-based, you can look for pea or brown rice blends. They tend to cover all the amino acid profiles. So there are some other ones out there, but if you're looking for complete amino acid protein profile, those tend to be the better ones.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I love it, man. I love it. So let's talk about families. Just talk about things like what's practical. Like this is the part that I care about the most. One of the main reasons why we started Hatten Health.
Yep.
All the science in the world doesn't matter if the food doesn't make sense, if the food isn't able to be eaten, if it's not palatable. I like to say a lot. So let's talk about what actually works for families. People who are cooking for picky kids, people who are watching a budget, and the ones who don't have time for complicated recipes. Let's get into that.
Yeah. I want to add that feeding families well is genuinely one of the most impactful things that you can do for long-term health goals for yourself and your kids. And so how we eat, how kids eat really shapes their relationship with food and their nutritional baseline for their entire lives. And like you said, this is what we're all about, is starting them out young on the right foot, creating those good lifelong healthy habits, because what they're eating today as a toddler is going to show up when they're in their 30s, in their 40s.
Yep.
What we're eating today in our 30s and 40s is definitely going to affect how we are in our 80s.
That's true.
So this matters greatly.
Yeah. And one of my favorites that I've eaten my entire life up to this day is eggs. It starts with eggs. I'll say it again. I'll scream it from the rooftops. Eggs. Eggs are the most versatile, one of the most affordable. You can find them anywhere. They're easy to find. And like a dozen eggs for a few bucks, give or take the times and the economy.
The price
Yep.
price fluctuates on them for sure.
It gives you 12 complete proteins that you can scramble, fry, bake, boil, poach. You can batch make them for the week. Make egg McMuffins, burritos, things of that nature. And you got them to fried rice. You can add them to a soup. Kids usually like them eggs in a form, and we can start there. Now, I mean, scrambled eggs used to get a bad rap. Sometimes they do. It's only because a lot of people don't really know how to scramble them in a healthy way. It's more than just throwing lard in the pan. Don't do that. There's healthier oils, healthier fats, leaner fats, and use them in moderation always. You don't need a lot. So there's healthy ways to go about that. Still enjoy the eggs the way you love them, the way you may have grown up eating them. So yep, we can start there.
Yeah. Also, eggs are really high in choline, which is super important for brain development and neurological function in children. And that is an incredibly underappreciated nutrient too.
Yeah.
But it's gaining some more popularity, especially with pregnancy and early childhood development. So eggs are one of your best sources for getting that nutrient as well.
Well, next we got beans and lentils. Okay. Now, these are great equalizers of nutrition. Like a can of beans costs less than $5 most of the time. And it delivers about 15 grams of protein. And all that fiber keeps kids full. Adults also. Like lentils are even easier, actually. You don't have to soak them. There's about 20-minute cook time. And they disappear into sauces, into soups, into tacos.
Hint, wink, wink.
Yep. So if your kids don't really like the look of them, because you know we're all visual eaters first, especially kids, you can hide them in those things. They're easy to hide. They're easy to hide in even in salads or salad dressings. Sometimes you gotta be a little creative, but if you also like it, they hide easily in meats and sauces. And basically, my philosophy is add beans to everything. You don't have to, but it's a key hint. Yeah, people say, "Well, why eat beans? Because they make you fart." Not always. If you don't overeat them, you'll be fine. And
Well, and they make you fiber because they're high in protein
Mhm.
and high in fiber. And so the fiber is beneficial for, gut health.
Get the gas out of you. Notice it's clear yourself out. But yeah, like I said, grounding them into beef and the pasta sauce, putting them into soups, that's a great way to consume them. And yeah, it's just they're one of nature's superfoods.
For sure. And like you mentioned, they're friendly on a budget as well.
Yeah.
So what you can call that, the different beans, lentils, meats, things like that. We call that protein layering. And so you're not necessarily replacing anything, you're just building upon it, right?
Right.
And so as he mentioned before, as we mentioned, beans are also really high in fiber.
Yeah.
And that is something that you don't get from meat products. So adding that helps feed your gut microbiome. Also, it helps slow digestion too. So you're going to be fuller for longer as well.
And one thing I just thought about is something that I never thought I would say many years ago before I started becoming health conscious was what I'm about to tell you now. Selecting thighs over breasts and chicken. Now, I used to think chicken breast was the gold standard growing up, and I ate a lot of wings and everything. Actually, I would recommend thighs because yes, you get the same amount of protein, but thighs has that fat on there that you don't get from chicken breast. Chicken breast is the more leaner side, tends to be more drier. And this is the case where the fat that you get from the chicken thighs isn't really a bad thing necessarily.
And it's great for kids too to get that extra fat.
Absolutely. You want them to eat that. You want to eat that. And they're more flavorful too. They're juicier. So if you have putting them in a broth, brining it or braising it or roasting it, it absorbs more of that juice. And yes, I still love the chicken breast. You tend to be able to do a lot with those, but it's easier to overcook them. That's why people will say they're dry all the time. More experienced cooks don't overcook the chicken. They know how to keep
Took
it
me
moist.
forever to figure out how to cook chicken breasts without burning them.
Yeah, man. Most home cooks are afraid of overcooking chicken breasts because they're easy because they don't have as much water, as much fat in them. But you get the same amount of protein in the thighs. So those are great to have. And I was want to say that it's usually more friendlier on your budget or more affordable than the breast. You can get more for your buck and the more readily available in more butcher shops or meat sections of grocery stores.
Mm-hmm.
Also, so switch to thighs. It's a game changer. You can get more in a pack, and it's one meal prep for the week. You can do a lot more with them.
Yeah, and you can buy them bone in or bone out.
Absolutely.
Too, if you're afraid to deal with the bones.
Yep. And there's more. Some of the flavor comes from the bone too. If you buy the bone in kind, some people are able to debone it if they want to, but that just gets more into the fancier side of things, which is not necessarily get into right now. We're just talking about the nutrient level and the protein effects in those.
Yeah.
Man, I could talk about chicken forever because it's one of my favorite things to eat.
You can eat a lot of chicken.
But piggybacking on the chicken conversation, we can talk about canned fish, like tuna, salmon is a fish too. But we talk about all that because yes, the fresh one's good also, but canned can be very beneficial to your health also. A lot of nutrients in there. I like to make salmon patties. Salmon patties are fun to make. You can make them into fish sticks, you can form them and fry them. Y'all know kids love fish sticks. Why not make the healthier ones instead of the processed frozen ones that don't really do anything for you? Make them fresh at home. It doesn't take a lot of time. So add some breadcrumbs and some egg in there.
Yeah, and with canned, you don't really have to focus on like actually cooking from raw, right?
Right.
They're
already cooked.
Yeah.
Yep.
Basically breading them, putting them in a pan.
Getting your omega-3s in there, getting about 20 grams of protein. So you're still getting your protein levels in there. They're amazing. And it saves time too. It really does. They're inexpensive to get at the store. Usually you can get 3 or 4 or 5 cans if you want. Make a batch for today, tomorrow.
Yep.
They're amazing.
Like no time at all. It usually takes you, like 5 minutes?
Exactly.
Yeah. Really quick, easy dinners for sure.
I love it. Love it.
Another one I want to add is Greek yogurt. It's probably one of the most versatile sources of protein too, dairy proteins. You can use it for breakfast, right? Yogurt and granola. You can use so many different ways. If you can buy it plain, full fat, that is the way to go. It's the most cost effective because you can always sweeten it with honey or fruit. Don't buy the already flavored container to get the plain, and then you can use it for salad dressings. You can use it to make homemade or a replacement sour cream on tacos.
Yep.
You get 17 to 20 grams of protein in a serving. You also get calcium, probiotics, great for gut health, and it tastes good. And it's a great way to add some more protein into the start of your day in your breakfast.
Let me tell you, I've eaten more Greek yogurt since meeting her than I have my whole previous life together. And I am very thankful for it. So I've always loved yogurt, but I was always eating it going out the wrong way, eating the pre-sugared, pre-sweetened, pre-flavored kind.
Well, and Greek yogurt is the key here too. Like, Greek specifically, not just Yoplait or that's nothing but sugar. There's no nutrients in that.
Yeah. So the shortcut is to build your grocery cart around these 5 things, and your family's protein levels are very, very, very well handled without spending a fortune in the grocery store and spending a ton of time deciding, looking for, and a ton of time in the kitchen making your dinner.
Yeah. And if you're concerned about your time or what you should be putting in your grocery cart or what you should be eating, we have a solution for that. We'll simplify it for you, not just listening to us right now. But if you're interested at all, there is an app out there that could definitely help you with all of this, and it is called the Hatten Health Recipe Club app. You can find it at app.hattenhealth.com. We're working on getting it in mobile stores, but we have created this app for specifically what you just said.
Yeah, for sure.
To help families, to help individuals with knowing what to buy with meal plans that are nutritious for them based on your specific dietary needs or allergies, restrictions, things like that. And you can create meal plans. Then those auto-populate a grocery list for you. Depending on your location, it will analyze your grocery list and tell you where the best place is to get the best price for your entire grocery list.
I'm telling you, there's not a lot of apps out there like this. In our extensive research, we haven't seen anything like it, but things that we have implemented into this app that will help you and your family. This is awesome. Definitely a game changer. It'll save you time, money, frustration, and it'll save you a little bit of stress too if cooking or grocery shopping stresses you out.
It's all right there, and we're even working on getting access so you can just import your entire list into wherever you shop, say Walmart, Instacart, things like that, and you can have it automatically delivered to your door right then and there. You don't even have to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, it uses AI metrics to build everything around you and your family's lifestyle. Like if you build a profile, you can select like the dietary restrictions, how often a week you cook certain meals, what you do like, what you don't like, where you, your location, your age, your preference, all the other things that you want to input. It will build everything that you're looking for around your specific metrics. It's very customizable to you and your lifestyle, whereas a lot of other apps, they just do a general outline, general preferences. This gives you what you need based on what you want and the way you live. And yeah, it's very customizable. It's very personable.
Yeah.
Gets to know you.
I don't want to go. There's so much more to this app that I don't want to take too much time away from this. But so if you're interested in that, definitely go ahead and check it out. There's a 14-day free trial. So don't feel like you are obligated to pay anything. Check it out for 2 weeks. See how you like it. Of course, we have different monthly memberships or an annual subscription, but it's going to change your life. I promise you that.
Absolutely. And moving right along, let's go into the correlation of protein and weight loss and go into the psychology behind why it actually works.
Yeah. So protein is really driving the conversation right now, right? That's why we're doing this whole entire episode just on protein alone. But does higher protein intake actually support weight loss? In some aspects, it does. It's not just a trend, and we'll dive into that a little bit more.
So is it as real as people say, or is it all hype?
No, it's real. It's real for sure. So there are 3 distinct physiological mechanisms that happen, they're all well supported in the literature. The first is satiety. So protein is the most satiating macronutrient out of all three. So it keeps you fuller longer and is harder to digest too. So compared to carbohydrates or fats. And it does this through multiple pathways in the body. So it helps slow gastric emptying. It stimulates the release of different hormones like GLP-1 or PYY. It suppresses ghrelin, which is a primary hunger hormone. So eating more protein actually tends to help you eat less overall without like white knuckling yourself through hunger. So that is a huge, powerful mechanism behind eating more protein.
So protein doesn't just actually burn the fat like you might hear in commercials or fitness influencers. It just gives you that satiating feel, makes you full, so you eat less.
Partly,
Okay.
partly, yes. The second mechanism is the thermal effect of food. So your body burns calories, right? And so the act of actually digesting and metabolizing food produces heat.
Okay.
And so protein has a thermal effect of 25 to 30%, meaning that a quarter to a third of calories from protein are burned just by processing them, by digesting them.
I see.
And so if you compare that, say, to that has about 2 to 3%, and carbohydrates are about 6 to 8%. So it's not a massive effect, but it really does add up over time. So basically, you're burning more calories as you eat protein compared to fats and carbs.
Oh, so it really adds up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and the third?
And the third is, this is one that I want to emphasize most to people, and especially to women out there listening and watching this: muscle preservation during caloric restriction. So when we're in a calorie deficit, yes, we lose weight, right? a lot of research out there. A lot of people have said over the years, you need to eat less than what you expend. And so less calories in, you're in a deficit, you lose weight. Your body doesn't just burn fat, though, when you're in that calorie deficit. It also breaks down muscle tissue for energy because your body's not getting enough energy. And so without proper, adequate protein intake to help with that muscle wasting in a way, and combining that with, say, resistance training, this really signals your body to say that we need this muscle, don't touch it, and preserve the muscle and burn the fat.
Wow.
So if you're not eating enough protein, getting enough protein throughout the day, you're also losing muscle mass at the same time.
Oh.
And so it's a balance that you need to increase your protein, have adequate protein intake, along with resistance training to tell your body, to signal to it that you actually still need this muscle.
Yeah.
Don't touch it, burn the fat, don't burn the muscle. This matters enormously for long-term weight management because muscle is also the highly metabolic active tissue. And so it burns calories at rest even.
Okay.
And so if your diet is requiring you to have significant muscle loss, it's definitely going to affect your resting metabolic rate. It's going to affect your metabolism in the long run. And you're actually going to be more susceptible to weight gain and regain and have that yo-yo effect.
Oh.
That is one of the main physiological reasons why yo-yo dieting is so destructive for so many people, and why they lose the weight quickly but then regain it. It's just this constant cycle. So it's not just psychological, it's actually a metabolic cost to losing muscle repeatedly over time.
So high protein during weight loss is actually protecting your metabolism, not just making you feel full?
Exactly.
Okay.
Also, I want to be clear on what high protein is and what it isn't.
Okay.
So the research with protein is that for weight loss, it generally supports somewhere between 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram of body weight.
All right.
or about 25 to 30% of your total calories should be coming from protein. So that's definitely on the higher range for somebody that we said was an average sedentary adult eating 0.8 grams. So upping that protein content in your daily diet. And then also, you don't want it to be extreme. So saying 60% of your daily diet coming from protein. So that means you're not getting any carbs. And that's what some diets push, is to have that extreme, high protein, low carb. But also carbohydrates are not the enemy, as seen with these diets. And carbohydrates also can support weight loss.
Yep.
Also, fat is not the enemy as well, when you're eating the right types of fats. And that's a whole nother episode for another day. But the calorie balance and protein adequacy are really the key variables when it comes to weight loss.
And the food still has to taste good, or no one sticks to it.
That's right. So that's probably one of the most underrated factors within nutrition research is, yes, and adherence as well.
Yeah,
is,
for sure.
you know, it's easy to say, hey, in a lab, eat this, do this, or tell somebody that. But if it doesn't actually taste good, if they aren't getting enjoyment from it, then what's the point?
Yeah, you don't feel like you're chewing on a bootstrap.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go right into like what a lot of people want to hear is the myths. Let's talk about some of these common myths, because there are a lot out there. Let's break it down. Set the record straight, as they like to say.
So myth number 1 is that you can only absorb 30 grams of protein per meal at a time. This one will not die, and I don't know why. And I don't know where it got started, but there is no cap how much you can absorb at one meal. Your body is capable of digesting and absorbing protein even at a large meal.
Yep.
It's just going to take longer to get through your system. So 60 grams of protein at a meal will take more time to digest than a 20-gram protein meal, of course. That makes sense. But doesn't mean that the protein isn't absorbed or utilized over time. And so that 30-gram rule, it's a huge misinterpretation as far as muscle protein synthesis studies go. It's largely been debunked with research over the years.
Okay.
And so, there's no like hard cap of how much your body can absorb.
I feel like that's sold a lot of protein shakes. I know because I bought some. I'm not going to lie.
So true. Go if you have protein powder at home. See how many grams per protein or grams of protein per serving are in here.
It's important to check that.
It's more than likely 30 grams. And so myth number 2 is high protein diets damage healthy kidneys. And so there's a bit of a nuance with this one. So I really want to be precise in how we talk about this.
Okay.
So for people that do have, say, chronic kidney disease or have some type of significant renal impairment, things like that, definitely high protein can increase or accelerate the progression of those impairments and diseases. So it is a concern for sure.
Yeah.
And people that do have those type of ailments or diseases definitely need to work closely with a nephrologist and a registered dietitian to ensure that they're getting adequate protein intake and are being careful with their kidneys that do have an impaired function, or other chronic health diseases as well. But if they're significant, definitely it's a concern for sure. But for most people with normal, healthy kidney function, it actually isn't such an alarming issue. Research does support that high protein diets don't actually cause kidney damage in and of themselves. Your kidneys are designed to handle byproducts of protein metabolism. As long as you're staying well hydrated when eating high protein, you should be fine.
Yeah. And I hear this from people who think they have to have meat. They say you can't get enough protein from plants. That's another myth that I hear.
Yeah, and not true. I mean, we talked about this earlier, right?
Mhm.
So a well-planned, varied plant diet can absolutely meet protein needs across all life stages, right? And
Mhm.
so, and this has been confirmed by big nutrition organizations too, even including the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics have proven this. And so the key though that I want to summarize and reiterate is the variety and the intentionality of it.
Mhm.
You cannot be a vegetarian and just live off of iceberg lettuce and call it plant-based diet, right? You need to have variety. You need to have lentils, chickpeas, tofu, edamame, quinoa, all the things that we already talked about, and have that throughout the day, and so that they can meet their protein needs.
Well, it's very interesting, very important to know. And that was myth number 3. Let's get into myth number 4. I've taken some real notes on this, so I want to read my notes to make sure I say this to you directly as possible without any bias. This is very important. More protein always means more muscle. I've heard that for real. But what I've gotten through my research is protein above a threshold doesn't continue to drive muscle growth indefinitely. Okay, so like once you provided your body with the amino acids it needs to maximize muscle protein synthesis, and that threshold is met at a much lower intake than any fitness influencers would have you believe, additional protein doesn't translate to additional muscle. I'm gonna say that again. Additional protein does not translate to additional muscle. Now it gets oxidized for energy. The limiting factors become training stimulus, sleep, hormonal environment, and total caloric intake. That's what that's for.
Yeah, and that's one that I want women to hear. Eating protein will not make you bulky. So many women have said that over time. I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat too much, or I don't want to do too much resistance training because it's going to make me bulky. It's going to make me look like a man. And I could talk about this for an entire episode probably, but maybe we will. But building appreciable muscle mass requires years of progress, right? Consistent resistance training, adequate caloric surplus, and hormonal conditions that most women do not have the same degree as men. And so eating adequate protein and doing regular strength training will make the average woman, yes, leaner, stronger, more metabolically resistant, and have more functionality throughout her life. But the fear of bulking is keeping a majority of women away from the most powerful health practice available to them. And it makes me so generally frustrated. So women, please, lift things, eat protein.
Yeah.
Please.
Say that part one more time. Say it louder.
Women, lift things and eat protein.
Yes. There's a lot here, and we're just going to wrap it up pretty soon because we have a couple more points to touch on. Like, for example, the downsides of protein, obsession. Let's get into that really quick.
Yeah. All right. So we've made a strong case for protein, I think, during this episode. Yeah. Now let's be the responsible professionals and tell you where this obsession about protein actually becomes a problem. Because it is, and we see it. And so let's get into it.
Well, I was hoping you go here because as someone who cooks for people, I watched this trend change how people relate to food in many ways that aren't really healthy.
Yeah. So first issue is opportunity cost. So when every food decision is filtered through, does this have enough protein? People often dramatically undereat other important nutrients such as fiber, complex carbohydrates, healthy fats, and an enormous variety of phytonutrients found in plant-based foods such as fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. So fiber intake in this country is already so low. 9 out of 10 adults in the US are not meeting the recommended fiber intake. And for men, adult men, it should be 30 to 38 grams per day of fiber. Women should be 25 to 28 grams. Kids, it varies. For ages 1 to 4, they should have whatever their age is. Say you have a 2-year-old, you need to add 5 to their age if they're under 4 years old. So 2 plus 5 is 7 grams.
Yeah.
So Ayla should be eating roughly around 7 grams of fiber a day. For kids 4 to 8 years old, that bumps up to 15 to 20 grams of fiber per day. And then adolescents, so 9 to 18-year-olds. For girls, it's 21 to 25 grams, or for boys, it's 25 to 30 grams. And so this is so important, though, because with the protein-obsessed diet, that completely eliminates your fiber content, right, when you're eating more protein. So whole food carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates that have high fiber help with gut health. It also can improve cardiovascular health, blood sugar regulation, and even help with cancer prevention. So you need, so it's a balance, right? So not just doing high protein, you need to have those things. And so fiber is a big one.
Yeah. And from the kitchen side, when people become so focused on protein, they often stop cooking with variety. Like chicken breast, broccoli, rice, repeat. Chicken breast, broccoli, rice, repeat.
You've seen all those bodybuilder meal plan reels, where meal prepping reels, where it's just the same meal every day for a week.
And they're not telling you everything they really do. And people tend to lose the joy of food, right? They stop cooking with different grains and legumes. They stop exploring the global cuisines that have incredible protein-rich traditions. They stop enjoying the shared meals because everything has to become so micro-tracked to the smallest detail, and you become miserable. It becomes a science project rather than just enjoying the experience of eating with each other.
We just talked to somebody, and we were talking about pizza because we did our Sunday family night pizza night.
Yeah.
And he was saying he can't even go to a pizza shop because he's counting his protein, and he doesn't want the carbs from the crust, and he doesn't hit his protein goals.
Counting your bites, weighing your plate at the restaurant. Like, come on, bro.
So we did tell him about our protein pizza. And also, this brings me to the great segue into the mental health dimension of restricted eating as well. We've worked with clients, we've seen it in our own personal lives. People genuinely develop disordered relationships with their food when it comes to protein tracking or any type of extreme.
Yeah.
And so, like who we just mentioned, the anxiety about restaurants, right? Going to a certain restaurant, eating out. Yeah, if you can't know exactly what your macros are, refusing to eat your grandmother's cooking because it doesn't hit your protein intake goals for the day. There's a lot of social isolation around meals too, when you're being so obsessive and restricted. And for many people with eating disorders and disordered eating patterns, the obsessive tracking protein culture encourages us to be on a real ramp to something more serious.
Yeah.
And so
food is love. Food is culture. And food is how humans have connected and bonded since virtually the beginning of time. So when it starts to become arithmetic, you definitely lose something special. You lose those special moments.
Beautifully said. Nutrition should be a service of a good life, not become the life itself. The goal is long, healthy, joyful existence with the people that you love. And food is supposed to be a part of that joy, not a source of anxiety. And that's why we're here with Hatten Health, with our business, is to create that joy with families.
Yeah.
And to prevent the anxieties around food as our children age and get older. We want to create that positive food culture for them.
I couldn't agree more. Now let's talk about the timing of it. People talk about protein intake timing. Does when you eat protein actually matter?
For sure. This is a whole area of science, and it's evolved a lot in the last decade or so. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay, so the post-workout protein shake. Is that real?
So, yes, so there's this thing called the anabolic window. And the idea is that 30 minutes to 60 minutes after a workout, you need to consume protein to basically get your greatest gains from your workout. And it was thought if you didn't eat protein within that time, your gains would go away. It would be what's called the adaptation, or as we talked about before, the muscle protein synthesis would be null.
Yeah.
And so this was a big part of fitness culture for many years. Now, research has shown that even that window can be up to 5 to 6 hours, even up to 48 hours post workout. So, what matters most is total protein intake throughout the day. So, even eating protein before your workout, anytime throughout the day, if you're meeting your goals, you're going to be okay. You're still going to be okay as far as your gains go. So I'm not saying that timing is irrelevant, but consuming proteins within the hour of working out before or after does really help support muscle protein synthesis and recovery. But say you have a great training day and you miss eating a protein rich meal within 2 hours post workout, it's going to be okay. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up about it. Relax, eat that meal when you can.
So what about breakfast? So you mentioned before that a lot of people undereat protein in the morning. I've heard people say that I'm not a breakfast person.
Yeah, or if you look at all the majority of breakfast items on the grocery shelves, you got really sugary cereals, pancakes, all of that. Yes, this is a major distribution point I want to keep coming back to, because most Americans eat very little protein at breakfast. A little bit moderately at lunch, and majority of it comes at dinner time. But for muscle protein synthesis, you really need to be eating protein throughout the day, spreading it out. Think about eating 20 to 30 grams roughly every 4 to 5 hours. So if you're eating a protein-rich breakfast, that really helps kickstart the process and significantly improves satiety and helps reduce your caloric intake later in the day as well.
Okay.
To get 20 to 30 grams of protein at breakfast, think about eating eggs, Greek yogurt, like we mentioned before, cottage cheese, some smoked salmon, a protein smoothie, quinoa bowls, things like that. So research has really shown that for weight management, appetite control, and daily distribution is to be really consistent, especially at breakfast time.
How about and before bed? Because I know some people drink casein shakes at night.
Yeah, so this is really interesting research. Casein protein is found naturally in dairy products, so cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, milk. And it's really slow to digest. It's a slow digesting protein that releases amino acids gradually compared to some others. If you consume it before bed, then those amino acids are slowly being released while you're sleeping. And this can actually really help support overnight muscle protein synthesis. And for older adults, this can really help prevent muscle loss. And for athletes too, who are doing some really heavy training, this might be a great strategy for them, and to be worth considering, because your body's still working to build that muscle overnight when you're sleeping versus trying to keep up during the day.
That's awesome.
So it's not mandatory for general health, but it could be a good tip for if you're trying to meet certain goals.
That's awesome. You should definitely write that down. In closing, we have some final takeaways that we want to leave you with. And I know you're on a great roll right now, so I'm gonna let you continue with that thought.
Yeah, we covered a lot today.
Yeah.
A lot of ground, and just have probably about 5 takeaways I want to summarize here before we go. And so number 1 is protein is genuinely important. I think we've proven that today. It's not just for bodybuilders and gym goers. It's for everybody at every age. It's fundamental for human biology, and it goes way deeper and farther than just worrying about muscle. Number 2 is the RDA, recommended daily allowance. You need to think of that as a floor as far as the amount you should be eating every day. It's not the ceiling. It shouldn't be a goal. You should be getting that and then some, especially if you're an older adult.
Yeah.
If you're pregnant, breastfeeding, very active, you need to definitely be eating more protein than that 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight a day. Number 3, I would say, is trying to eat more whole food sources, and that whole food is always superior to some type of supplement. And protein bars, protein powders, those are a supplement. So try to eat real food first when you can. Number 4, this is for all our plant-based eaters. Variety is your superpower. We already talked about that. You need complete proteins in your body to do the work that you need for all the different functions within your body, those 9 essential amino acids. It's hard to find in plant-based products. So eating a diverse plant-based diet can help cover all of your needs. And number 5, and I really do mean this deeply, nutrition should make your life better. If your relationship with protein is causing you any type of anxiety, social isolation, or a restricted diet that's making your life miserable, that is not health. That is not healthy. And that's something that definitely is worth taking some time to consider and examine.
Yeah. And from the kitchen, lead with protein, especially when you're building a complete meal. You want to cook with variety and cook with joy. And you do not want to sleep on lentils and eggs. Trust me, they will not let you down. If you're cooking for a family on a budget, the eggs, beans, canned fish, chicken thighs, Greek yogurt, that's your list right there. That is everything you need. That's your complete total package.
I love that we keep arriving to the same place,
Right?
right? Coming from different directions,
I love
but coming in agreement, and that's what we're all about.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening. Thank you for being here. Hopefully you took some great information away from this. If you feel obligated to share this with a friend, a family member, we'd love to hear from you too, and give us your thoughts and any questions that you have.
Yeah, you can find our socials, our websites, everything here is on the screen. Our email right here on the screen, it's in the description. We would love for you to check out our Hatten Health app that we mentioned earlier. It's at app.hattenhealth.com, our website, hattenhealth.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, our YouTube channel, TikTok. We're all there. Yeah, find our content, like it, comment, follow, share, subscribe, all that good fun stuff you love to do. And spread the word. Because here at Hatten Health, we want to do one thing that we do on every episode is leave you with a positive affirmation. So with our affirmation cards deck here, we're just going to pick one at random. Shuffle, shuffle. Cool. And I'm going to read this one today. It says, "Balance is beautiful," from Miyoko Ono.
Yes, I mean, that is so fitting for today.
Yep.
Balanced meals, not eating extreme high protein. You want to balance of protein, carbs, fats, all of that. So that goes.
It adds to the balance in your life.
Yep.
And with all that being said, here at Hatten Health, we love to focus on family,
Health,
growth,
and empowerment.
So let's make it happen.
Together.
Cheers.
Cheers to you.